To my left was a bedroom, and I saw Mr. Trump's clothes on the bed. I did not see him, but he greeted me with hello in a sing-song voice. It sounded like, I thought the mistake had been made, and Mr. Trump thought he was speaking to someone he was more familiar with. Hello. I walked further into the living room, away from the bedroom, and sat down. I waited for about 15 minutes until Mr. Trump emerged. He had his suit on. I stood up, and he came to me and started kissing me open-mouthed as he was pulling me towards him. I walked away and I sat down in a chair. He was on a love seat across from me.
I don't know.
And I made an attempt at conversation.
And it's not.
He then asked me to sit next to him. I complied. He then grabbed my shoulder and began kissing me again very aggressively and placed his hand on my breast. I pulled back and walked to another part of the room.
I know this probably makes me unpopular in this space, but I believe that something happened, and I believe, but she's accusing a lot of other very prominent, famous men of rape. And again, it's like I was scared to even come out here and say that, but
I never met her at a hotel or greeted her inappropriately a decade ago. That is not who I am as a person. It is not how I've conducted my life. In fact, Zervos continue to contact me for help.
And I believe even come out here and say that, but again, it's like I was scared to even come out here and say that, but I would prefer to be honest with the audience, and I would just like to open up. I would prefer to be honest with the audience.
Our democratic process apart and poison the minds of the American public when Gloria Allred, that's Zervos' attorney, is given the same weighting on national television as the President of the United States.
I would like to open up the investigation. I would like to know more.
Silent groping going on.
Trump has denied the allegations, which came to light last year after a leaked 2005 Access Hollywood recording showed Trump bragging about groping women.
Good afternoon.
Facing questions from reporters on the allegations, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders defended the president.
The president has denied any of these allegations, as have eyewitnesses, and several reports have shown those eyewitnesses also back up the president's claim in this process. And people knew this and voted for the president, and we feel like we're ready to move forward in that process. The president has said that it's a good thing for women to be able to feel comfortable in coming forward, generally speaking.
I want to believe that as Americans we can put aside our political inclinations and admit that some things in fact do transcend politics, that we will hold Mr. Trump to the same standard as Harvey Weinstein and the other men who were held accountable for their reprehensible behavior. Therefore, I ask that Congress put aside their party affiliations and investigate Mr. Trump's history of sexual misconduct. In another interview, accuser Jessica Leeds told NBC's Megyn Kelly about an alleged incident with Trump while traveling on a flight.
All of a sudden,
U.S. lawmakers have called for Trump's resignation over the sexual misconduct allegations, demanding answers and accountability. Administration official lead that New York City has also cited political inclinations and admit that some things in fact do transcend politics. Trump has denied the allegations Mr. Trump came to light last year after a leaked 2005 Access Hollywood recording showed Trump bragging about October. I asked multiple women facing questions from party affiliations and investigate Mr. Trump's history of sexual media and film. In another interview, while accuser Jessica Leeds told NBC's Megyn Kelly about an alleged incident with Trump while traveling to have taken place before the 2016 election.
President Trump's past alleged sexual misconduct. Moments ago, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders suggested there is a distinction between accusation against Senator Al Franken and those against the president, because
nothing was said.
Reporters on the allegations, White House Press Secretary.
I didn't go eek or help or whatever. It was just this silent groping.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders defended the president.
The president
without
has
consent
denied
and
any of
offered
these
her money
allegations,
to go
as
out with
have
him.
eyewitnesses.
Summer Zervos, a contestant on The Apprentice, accused President Trump of harassing her on multiple occasions, including kissing her, quote, very aggressively and placing his hand on her chest without her consent. Jessica Leeds told the New York Times that during a flight he sat next to her, lifted the armrest and began to grab her breasts and put his hands up her skirt. Mindy McGillivray told the Palm Beach Post that Trump groped her at Mar-a-Lago. Quote, "I was startled. I jumped," she said. Rachel Crooks, who worked in the Trump Tower, told the New York Times that Trump kissed her on the cheeks and her mouth without consent. People magazine, Natasha Stoynoff claims Donald Trump pushed her against a wall. A former Miss Utah, Temple Taggart, claims Mr. Trump gave her at a Mother's Day consensual embrace and kissed her on the lips during a pageant rehearsal. Danny wishes on heated behavior later grabbed a Trump Tower meeting for a joint appearance. Kristen Anderson says in a crowded Manhattan, Karina Virginia said in a press conference that President Trump touched her side of her breasts before allegedly asking, Kathy Heller claims that President Trump...
Conspiracy theory alleging Mexican mega billionaire Carlos Slim, who owns a minority stake in the Times, was somehow behind the paper's story about 2 instances of alleged Trump sexual misconduct. In a statement, Times publisher Arthur Sulzberger Jr. said Slim, quote, has never sought to influence what we report. And Slim said via a spokesman that he exerts no influence over content at the paper.
And Jill Harth says Mr. Trump made unwanted sexual advances toward her, including groping her under her skirt. Of course, on 2 different candidates. Now, the Trump himself issued statements denying those claims.
Total fabrication. The event never happened.
Melania Trump denouncing the women who have come forward alleging her husband behaved inappropriately.
Needless to say, President Trump has filed exactly 0 lawsuits against any of his accusers. In fact, the only lawsuit filed in all of this has been from one of those accusers, Summer Zervos, for defamation of her character.
At the beginning, and the president spoken
with
on it.
Transition. Because like I said, never had self-consciousness until healthcare pressed their wretchedness and did exactly the same thing.
Weigh in
that
on whether he believes
these individuals
any of the 7
did. So
women
thank
who
you
claim
for
that
allowing
Roy
me
Moore in
to
his 30s pursued intimate relations with them when they were in high school, including one who says he had sexual contact with her when she was 14. I've yet to see a valid explanation, and I have no reason to doubt the victims' accounts. No reason to doubt.
In an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos,
The
Melania
victims'
backed her
accounts, which
husband's
again
vow
raises the question for Ivanka Trump and
They were lies, and as I said before, all the accusations, they should be handled in a court of law.
So you believe the lawsuit should go forward?
for Senate Majority Leader
Yes,
Mitch
I
McConnell
believe
and
that.
Speaker House Paul Ryan, for that matter, why do you believe the Roy Moore accusers, but you
We
do
will
not
see.
believe
My
those who
priority is
accuse
my
Donald Trump?
our son Baron, and I support him 100%. I support him 100%. And a court of law. It should be handled in a court of law.
I could do anything.
You can do anything. You can do anything. You can do anything except criticize other alleged offenders, without folks like us pointing out the rank hypocrisy of it. Just a little note. People in glass White Houses.
And you, because a teacher, when you learn something,
the action, the sentry's eyes commence to fade, arms pulled taut and gutted, corrupted masquerade. The problem with all this battling is that I'm lost in the pretense. Lines begin to blur, oh saboteur, bleeding bruise hues bright and dense. A waggy full of push and pull.
And you, because a teacher, when you learn something new, you, I don't know, take the challenge. Have you ever tried to teach something to someone? It is the hardest thing to do. At the same time, because I believe that education is for everyone, not just some. That's what I keep. There's no relief unless I get to speak.
For anything that happens in the world, any discrepancy, inconsistency, contradiction.
Stable mental health, but also is our stable mental health, but also the mental of those in power who abuse their positions. No more those in issues with transitions. No more issues with transition.
Assault rifles weren't created until... What an assault rifle is it uses intermediate which is a detachable magazine that can switch between semi-automatic, fully automatic. After each round, it needs the shooter to manually reset the hammer and the striker before the next shot to be fired. So that's time and energy spent between these motherfucker killers taking down our kids in classrooms. So that's the attitude of leaders, that the violence is the same. Give me back your deposit. Interest is time. Good idea? Now remember, I am it every once in a while so that people can get the adrenaline of hate and rage out of their system and the reminder, shit, we live in a society where if you do the wrong thing, you could possibly die. Anyone know teacher still in mind, spirit, body, and heart, not on paper where it really matters, because once you're tenured, it takes a lot of effort to get you fired, except if you use the evaluation system in Chicago. isn't exactly funny. This is more shocking. So the first part of 5-minute speech here is going to be like, and just watch. I'm going to bring it all together in the last 30 seconds. You'll see. Who would like to see a public hanging every once in a while so that people can get the adrenaline of hate and rage out of their system?